Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the first day of June, 2023. Well, I hope you're all having a good week. We had to bring all the plants in that were hardening off on the decks. We had to bring them all in last night because it was about 35 here, so I mean, not freezing, but you never know. It could fluctuate either way, especially if there's wind. It's going to drop the temperatures, and we didn't want to see anything happen to them, so you know, that's what we did. I did that myself while my husband was mowing. He was finishing up some of that. So that's what we've been doing here, just trying to get ready, putting some stuff in that we can. And, we'll probably finish most of that, or if not all of it, this weekend. So then we'll just sit back and take care of it and watch it grow. My snow peas are growing. I don't know why they're up. I put them up. I put them in just last week, but my regular peas are not up at all. I don't know what's going on there, so I guess I may have to replant. I don't know. So let's go ahead and get started with the taking the runes. Just as a reminder, the runes are the significators for the reading, the overall focus. So we're going to begin on the higher side of things, the above side of things, with Gebo. Gebo's about balanced energy exchange. It's the gift. It's reciprocity. It's Kenaz in all directions. So the light of spirit expressed outward in all directions. But there's a balance to it, and it's about marriage and partnership and integration. Rado's another rune that's kind of integrative, because you think rider and horse with that and the integrated motion there. Well, this is more about that type of integration in a balanced way. And again, based on expressing the light of spirit outward, or higher awareness outward. That would be the above side of things. Let's take a look at the Geomancy elemental runes. We'll throw them down, and I'll put them in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. And then we'll discover what our Geomancy rune is for today. Well, I have Fortuna Major. Now, again, with Geomancy, Geomancy is earth-based. It's earth energy. And so what you have with that, when you're looking at them in terms of runes, you can think of it as ley lines and pendulums and stuff like that. But Geomancy runes have been around for long time. And I'm not exactly sure when, but hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Okay, I mean, it could be even longer for all I know. But that's... So, I don't think anybody really knows when they came to be, but I think that they were around in Agrippa's time. So it was a long time, and I think when was he alive? In the 1300s or 1400s, something like that. So it's been around for a long time. But there are essentially 8 concepts where you get both sides of the coin or the equation for each one. And so there's 16 runes because of that. With Fortuna Major, this means greater fortune. So it's kind of like the windfall at the end, the paycheck at the end. But it doesn't have to be. It can be financial, but it doesn't have to be. Sometimes spiritual awareness is your greater fortune. And so then, but then when you look at Fortuna Minor, it's complement, then you're looking at a lesser fortune. And so with that, instead of having the big paycheck at the end, you've got progressive success. Okay, so it's like baby steps along the way. And so that's kind of the both sides of the same coin of success or a successful outcome or something like that. So if we're looking at then Gebo and Fortuna Major, then what we're looking at is in some balanced, integrative way to achieve that greater fortune. And generally speaking, that's going to include collaboration with at least one other person or maybe more, and to see the value in that. So let's see what the cards have to say, though. I've done some shuffling already, so I'll just do a little bit more here. But hopefully they're going to give us an idea of what that actually looks like, how that plays out here today or for the next few days. Having to do with balanced energy exchange with others that then leads to greater fortune, see? That leads to a successful outcome, in other words. And again, I think that because of the collaborative nature, the idea of partnership, marriage, all of that, with Gebo, it must involve more than one person here, more than just you. So maybe a collaborative process really brings you some positive outcome here. Maybe it's, positive financially. It could be that. So, but let's go ahead and we'll cut the cards. Take the lower half. Well, we have 2 cards from the major arcana. We have the Hermit and the Tower, and then we also have the Seven of Cups. I may move these around. I think I like the idea of patterns here, and I've got the Hermit on one side and the Tower on the other. But I wonder, well, I'm going to put the 7 first, and then we'll go to the Hermit, and then we'll go to the Tower. Because I think what we're going to talk about is your head being in the clouds a little bit about something, and then you need to get a higher perspective about it, and then you need to allow the transformation from the higher perspective to take hold. And when you do that, then we will, it'll likely be in balance with something else, some kind of energy. In other words, the transformation means that you would then understand the idea of Gebo in your life and balanced energy exchange with others and integration and partnership leading to success. So I think that's what I think that's how this is going to go. But let's go ahead and talk about the 7. Now, initially, and I say this whenever I get this card, I kind of like to be positive about this kind of stuff, but sometimes it's just not. But depending on the card that it's next to, or if it's just a 3-card reading like I do here, I mean, I can take more if we need it, but typically I just do 3 cards. How the other cards impact this decides really how you read it. But the traditional way is these are unrealistic expectations or unrealistic desires. 7 is a number of balance. It's a number of observation. Justice, and I mean, you could think of 7 with Gebo and let's see, what number is Gebo? I wonder if I have that down here. Yeah, it's the 7th rune of the major arcana. I thought so. So basically, we're dealing with a number 7 with the or 7 numerology with Gebo anyway. And so here, things are out of balance. You see 7 different cups, golden chalices, sitting atop dark clouds. You see the person here in shadow. You don't even see them, lit up or anything. You don't see the colors that they're wearing. You don't know anything about them. So in a sense, this is the dream state. And it's fine to have these dreams, but a lot of them might be unrealistic. You see a castle on the mountaintop. You see jewels here. You see a wreath. You see a dragon. You see a serpent. You see what I've always interpreted as Napoleon's hat, but I don't know. It could be something else. It just doesn't look like it to me. I've never known what that is. And then you see maybe a woman's face here. So this could be a guy who's dreaming about a new love in his life, or wealth, or power, or a new home, or what have you. And maybe having kingly types of desires here, if you will. But the dark clouds suggest that it's not realistic. So instead of being positive like I try to be and say, oh, well, dreaming new dreams, because how do you know, right? How do you know this isn't possible? I mean, right now we're saying it isn't, but how do you know? I mean, you know what's going to happen, so maybe it will, right? Maybe it could play out in some way. So I always tried to be positive about it, but I really think that what we're dealing with here is a rebalancing of perception here, a rebalancing of desire, is with the 7 numerology here. I think that's just sort of implied and inherent in it. And with Gebo, you're definitely getting that. Next we go, though, to the Hermit. So if we're being unrealistic, and we're not going to get to where we need to go, we're not going to get some success out of this collaborative effort that we're trying to do, right? And how are you going to do that if your head's in the clouds, if you're not being realistic, right? So the Hermit is suggesting that you get away from it all, you get above it all, and go into some meditation. And here he's up on a snowy mountain type of peaks. You see little peaks here and here. He's on like a snowy precipice there, and he's looking down upon creation, upon his world. He's holding a staff in his left hand, and in his right hand, though, he's holding a lantern. And in the lantern's being lit by a beautiful Merkaba. Now, Merkabas are thought to be soul vehicles. And so essentially what he's doing when he's getting above it all is he's accessing higher awareness. He's going within. He's like the hanged man, he's surrendering to the moment. And he's basically looking down upon things and trying to see it from a higher perspective. And so if you're struggling with the idea of maintaining control, which some of this, if he's dreaming of being the guy in charge and the one controlling everything, if this is kingly desire in a sense, it's not going to work out if you need to collaborate with others to get that success, right, for a successful outcome. You're ignoring that. And so you have to get above it all and take a higher perspective so that you can see the value of the input of other people on your road to success, basically, in this what's clearly a collaborative effort. Some people have a very difficult time doing that. They want to control everything. They're the leader, and people are just supposed to do as they're told. Well, sometimes that, what if you're a leader that doesn't get it right, and you've got someone that works for you that's like, hey, I got an idea. Well, you don't want to just dismiss that person out of hand, right? You want to listen to what they have to say. But some people can't do that. They can't allow for the input of other people. It's too threatening to them or something. Maybe they feel like, well, if they know more than I do, then what good am I? They get into that whole internal dialogue, right? And so they want to control everything. And it just seems to me that with this particular reading, maybe that's what's happening in the Seven of Cups, where emotionally they need to be able to control everything to the point that they can't allow for anybody else to come in and say, well, here's an idea that we might think about. And who knows, maybe it's the key that opens the lock to everything else proceeding quite well and successfully. So you don't want to ever do that. And in a collaborative situation, you absolutely don't. There may be a leader there, but the leader has to be aware enough to understand that there's other things, other people have other ideas, and to talk about them and to not be afraid of them, right? To get into the whole Gebo moment of it, right? And manifest from that point, because remember, Gebo is Kenaz in all directions. Kenaz is shaped like this. It's actually the lesser than sign. I've always said it's the greater than sign, but it's actually the lesser than sign. But it's the idea that higher awareness is already there, and now you're expressing that outward in all directions in a balanced, energetically balanced way. So you want what you want, but maybe it's not going to get you where you need to go. And so you need to get above it all, and you need to go into meditation and access higher awareness and bring that into whatever your perceptions, your decisions, your interactions, the whole thing. Okay? But to do that may require some transformation on your part. Now, I know this looks like an interesting card, but you have, it's card 16 of the Major Arcana, which, guess what? Reduces to 7. 6 and 1 is 7. So we've got 2 7s with a 9 in between. 9 is about spirituality. Before I talk about the Tower, 9 is about spirituality. It's about generosity. It's also about endings and completion. So it puts an end to when you get above it all and you start understanding the bigger picture from a state of grace. Basically, you see things differently, and it puts an end to the ego's involvement in all of it. Basically, right? And so here we have another 7 numerology. We have one of the things I use visually to talk about the 7 is the scales, because you've got 3 over here, and 1 up here, and that all equals 7, right? Well, here we need a rebalancing. Again, with Gebo, it's the same sort of energy. Here we have the lightning that comes in and hits the top of the tower, blowing the top off. You see fire starting everywhere. You see 2 individuals. It looks like this one is the woman, but it depends on how the card is drawn as to how female-like it looks. But we'll just say the king and queen are falling from the tower to save themselves, basically. We don't know that they died because there's nothing down here to show that. They could be falling into the water. Maybe there's a moat around this whole tower, and so maybe maybe they didn't go to their death. But at the bottom line of it all is that what's happening here is transformation. Nothing's ever going to be the same again here. It's a rebalancing of sorts. It's disruption. It's catalytic change. But it's change and transformation that's positive in nature. There's also an element of letting go of the past here. So letting go of the dreams that are not going to get you where you need to go, coming back into balance as the goal, and being able to be balanced with other people and integrated with others, getting above it all and letting higher awareness guide you in that regard. And then the end result with that kind of transformation, essentially, of will, basically, that's going to be your greater fortune or your fortuna major. So does it have to be financial? No. Maybe you have control issues. Maybe you have issues of being unrealistic about what you want to do or how you see things. It could be anything like that. And you need a rebalancing of sorts because you're not getting anywhere. Maybe you're not getting anywhere with people, your coworkers or partners of some kind. But you need to allow higher awareness to come in so that you see the bigger picture and the value of a more balanced, energetic relationship with other people. That lets the light, that expresses the higher awareness outward into what you're doing instead of it being the lower vibrational ego that controls the whole process. That's what this reading is all about. When we say as above, so below, that's what we're talking about. Bringing the above side of things, the higher awareness, the soul side of things into your life experiences, because that's why you're here to begin with. These are just pieces of your oversoul, wherever, all over the place, incarnated to learn things and to bring that learning and that awareness back to the collective consciousness. And so we're not, instead we sort of get into this reactive mode and we forget. It's like, oh, well, no, the soul is later on when we die and we go, we move on. It's like, no, it's here right now. We're all souls here right now, not later. You don't get it later. You're here now. And so the soul has to be the one guiding the process and helping the ego to understand and learn the higher perspective that it needs to have. And so I think that if we do that, in other words, then that is our fortuna major. We've achieved what we set out to achieve here, and is to let the soul have this earthly experience, but not to ever forget that that's what we are. And to use that perspective in our decisions and in our relationships with other people, our reactions, to not simply jump in with both feet and judge a situation, but to step back and to take a better look at things, just leaving judgment out of it. If you believe that we create the world we see, if the world we see is indeed a projection of our soul's awareness and our soul's decisions that it makes before coming into these bodies, from there we create the world that we need to have in order to learn the lessons we decided to learn. Then it puts the power back on each one of us to do that. And you cannot do it from an ego perspective. We see what happens when ego runs amok. We see that in our world leaders. We see it in our government when people are not concerned with the truth or the facts, only what position they want to advance so that they keep control. Well, see, that's not what this is really about. And if we can all understand that, then maybe we have a more Gebo-like experience in this life that we have here. And then that leads to the Fortuna Major of that integration, that positive integration between soul and ego, soul and the personality, so that what the time that we have here, this finite time we have here in these particular incarnations, can be much more successful than if we just let ego take the reins and, it is what it is. So I think that that's probably the gist of things here. And with and again, the hermit holds the key to it. You know, if you want to look at it that way, and you want to think of the nine, the nine energy, because it's the ninth card of the major arcana. If you want to think about that in terms of spirituality, or even endings and completion, it's where we need to end up, you see. And so the Fortuna Major here may simply be, what does it take for the soul to be successful here? And it takes understanding the balanced energy exchange we have between soul and ego, and from there, between each one of us, you know, between me and you and you and you, between all of us, you see. And that's your Fortuna Minor, or Fortuna Major rather. That's your successful final outcome, basically, to learn those lessons and to achieve that level of higher awareness while still being in the body. So there you go. Something to think about for the weekend. As you're planting things, maybe, I don't know. Or just what seeds are you planting in your life? I mean, let's get completely esoteric about it, right? Anyway, I guess that's it. I did not do a newsletter last week because of going to see our grandkids. I just didn't have time. And I got everything else posted around, but I didn't do that. However, the newsletter's ready to go. I'm just waiting to send it out on Saturday for this week. But most everything you see in the newsletter anyway, you can find on the blog, so, or over on Substack or Patreon or Medium. But if you want, you can check out the blog, Stepping Aside. Web address is imsteppingaside.com. If you click on more under the video, it'll open up a box, a window, and it'll show you that it has the web address right at the top, and then an explanation of what this is all about. And then there's some other links to where I am out in the world on social media and whatnot. So if you want to check that out, that'd be cool. But, you know, have a good weekend, and we'll talk again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Oh, one other thing. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that as well and come back. Anyway, be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.